Bathrooms are supposed to be safe, but what if something is watching you when you go in and you don't even know it? Here are horror stories that will make you think twice before going to a bathroom alone after midnight. It was late, past midnight, when Michael finally pulled into the rest area along the long stretch of highway. The fluorescent sign buzzed weakly in the wind, swinging slightly on its chain, the paint peeling like sun-bleached paper. He had been driving for hours, exhaustion weighing down every muscle. His bladder protested violently, leaving him no choice but to stop. The gas station itself looked abandoned, though the lights inside flickered sporadically, revealing the silhouette of a lone cashier hunched behind the counter. Michael parked, killed the engine, and stepped into the icy night air. The smell of gasoline mixed with damp concrete hit him instantly, making him wince. "Bathroom?" he asked quietly as he approached the counter. The cashier didn't look up. Slowly, he reached under the counter and slid a tarnished key toward Michael. "Just don't stay long," the man muttered, voice flat, almost reluctant. Michael frowned. "What do you mean?" "Don't linger," the cashier repeated, finally glancing up. His eyes were dark, wary. "Just go in and leave." Shaking off the uneasy feeling, Michael nodded and pocketed the key. The bathroom was a small annex on the side of the building. A narrow corridor of cracked tiles led to 3 stalls, a urinal against one wall, and a long mirror above the sinks. The fluorescent lights buzzed unevenly, throwing a harsh glare across the walls. The first stall was empty and slightly grimy. The second, he noticed, had the seat up, but otherwise looked normal. But the third stall was locked. A rusty metal padlock secured it, the door slightly warped. He didn't think much of it. He headed into the second stall, shutting the door behind him. The air inside was thick and stale. Every tile seemed to hum under the fluorescent glow. He let out a sigh of relief and tried to focus on the mundane task at hand. Then he heard it. A wet, dragging sound, soft at first, almost imperceptible, then deliberate. Michael froze, hand hovering mid-air. He held his breath. The sound came from the locked stall. "Hello?" he called, voice shaking. Silence. Then the scraping returned, long, slow, wet drags across the metal door. It was a sound that should not exist, like nails dragging over steel, deliberate and precise. Michael's stomach tightened. He tried to reason with himself. Probably rats, maybe plumbing, anything but whatever that was. The sound shifted, closer, as if it moved behind the door, pressing against it with invisible fingers. The padlock rattled slightly, but the door didn't open. Michael's hands trembled. I'm leaving," he whispered. He tried to push the stall door, locked, solid, nothing gave. The scraping turned into a low thumping sound, echoing through the small bathroom. Each thump pressed against his chest, like the air itself was being pushed outward. The fluorescent lights flickered violently, casting long shadows that bent unnaturally along the tiles. The mirror above the sinks reflected movement in the corner of his eye, but every time he looked, there was nothing, just the locked stall. Then the air grew cold, unnaturally cold. A chill slid down his spine, sinking into his bones. Michael could see his breath curling in front of his face. He shivered violently, wishing he had just held it until the next exit. A faint whisper reached him. "Get out." He froze. The voice was soft, wet, almost human, but wrong. He spun toward the mirror, but there was no one. The scraping escalated. The padlock rattled violently, then fell to the floor with a metallic clatter. The door bulged as if something pressed from inside, testing its limits. Michael stumbled backwards, pants half-buttoned, heart hammering. Then he saw it. A shadow, a tall, thin figure pressed against the stall door, its form obscured in the warped reflection of the mirror. It moved unnaturally, bending at impossible angles, as if the joints didn't belong to a human. Its fingers scratched and pressed against the metal, leaving tiny wet streaks across the surface. Michael backed into the corner, almost tripping over the toilet. "Please, go away," he stammered, voice shaking. The whisper returned, louder this time. "Stay." The door warped further, as though the figure inside stretched against it, trying to break free. Michael's phone slipped from his pocket, clattering to the tile. He tried to call for help, but the screen flickered and went dead. He tried the door again, still locked. The figure's pressure grew, pushing against him now, as if the door wasn't a barrier. The shadow in the mirror seemed to ripple and grow, black eyes appearing in the reflection, staring directly at him. Panicked, he ran toward the entrance, flinging the bathroom door open. The cashier sat motionless, reading the same newspaper, but his eyes flicked to Michael briefly. No words, just a cold, knowing stare. Michael didn't stop. He slammed the door to the parking lot behind him, his heart racing. The wind whipped past his face as he gasped for air, trying to shake the terror. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the tall, thin figure pressing against the metal, heard the wet scraping and low whispers echoing in the tiled room. The next day, curiosity gnawed at him despite the lingering fear. He returned to the gas station in daylight. The bathroom looked normal, the stalls empty. The locked door was locked, just as before. No padlock on the floor, no streaks on the metal. Nothing. He asked the cashier about it. "Oh, that stall?" the man said, casually, though his voice carried an edge. "Don't open it. Sealed years ago. Bad things happened. Some accidents. Nothing for you to worry about." Michael left, unsettled. The highway stretched ahead, quiet and empty, but he couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on him. Years later, travelers told stories of the infamous stall, of scraping sounds, bulging doors, whispers and shadows moving behind the metal. Official records claimed nothing unusual, but locals knew better. And Michael? He never used a public bathroom again. He avoided that highway stretch entirely. Yet sometimes, when he's alone, he swears he can hear the faint scrape of nails on metal, low whispers calling his name, as though the bathroom remembers him and waits for the next visitor.
Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy true horror stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. Sarah stayed late after Bible study. The church was empty. Everyone had gone home hours ago. She had stayed to help clean up, stacking hymnals, wiping tables, and putting chairs back in place. The big hall felt quiet, too quiet. Every step she took echoed across the floor, and the hum of the overhead lights made the silence feel heavier. She realized she needed to use the bathroom before leaving. The bathroom was at the end of a narrow hallway behind the fellowship hall. The walls were cracked, the tiles chipped, and the air smelled faintly of mildew. The door creaked loudly as she pushed it open. Inside, 3 stalls lined the back wall. A single sink and a cracked mirror were across from them. The floor was cold under her shoes.
Sarah locked the door behind her. The fluorescent light flickered weakly above. She told herself it was just the old building acting up, but her skin tingled and a chill ran down her spine. She walked to the sink and turned on the tap. The water gurgled, then ran normally. She looked up at the mirror. Her reflection looked ordinary, but something felt wrong. A soft dripping echoed from the farthest stall. Sarah froze. She knew the stall had always been locked. She tried to convince herself it was just a loose pipe. She finished washing her hands and reached for the door. The handle didn't turn. She twisted and pulled, but it was stuck. Panic started to rise. Then came the whispers. "Stay, don't leave." Sarah jumped back, heart hammering. Her eyes darted around the small bathroom. There was no one there. The stall doors didn't move. Her phone slipped from her pocket and hit the floor. She grabbed it and tried to call someone. The screen only showed static. The lights flickered, and in the mirror she saw a shadow, a tall, thin shape pressed against the far wall. It bent and twisted like it wasn't real. Sarah blinked, and it disappeared. The dripping got louder, accompanied by a scraping sound, metal on tile, slow, deliberate. The farthest stall door rattled. Sarah's stomach tightened. She pressed herself against the wall. A voice whispered again, louder this time. "Don't leave. Stay with us." Sarah's pulse raced. She realized the air had grown colder. Her breath came in small clouds. The shadow in the mirror moved closer. She understood it wasn't behind the glass. It was in the reflection, reaching towards her. She stumbled backward, hitting the sink. The faucet splashed water onto the floor. The stall door creaked. Slowly it opened. No one was inside. Sarah wanted to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. Suddenly, the mirror shook. The reflection inside twisted. Shadows stretched, figures multiplying behind her reflection. They had dark, hollow eyes. Their mouths moved, whispering words she couldn't understand. Her reflection's mouth moved differently than hers. Sarah ran to the door and yanked it, still locked. The whispers grew louder, a chorus now. "Stay, stay, forever." The shadows in the mirror reached through, their long, thin hands pressing against the glass. She could feel the cold touch on her arms. Sarah screamed and tried to pull away, slipping on the wet floor. The farthest stall door slammed shut on its own, rattling violently. The lights flickered rapidly. Shadows crawled along the walls, stretching unnaturally. Sarah tried to breathe, her chest tight. The whispers became louder, overlapping into a deafening roar. She backed into the corner, pressing herself against the wall. Her phone screen glowed with static. Then she saw something impossible. In the mirror, a version of herself stepped out of the reflection. The reflected Sarah moved independently, smiling with black, empty eyes. The mirrored figure whispered, "Join us." Sarah screamed and lunged at the door. The handle finally turned. She bolted into the hallway, her shoes slapping the floor. Her chest heaved, and she couldn't stop shaking. When she glanced back at the bathroom door, the lights flickered one last time. For a brief moment, she thought she saw a dark figure looking out at her through the crack of the door. Then it was gone. The church caretaker arrived the next day. He checked the bathroom. Everything looked normal. The tiles were clean, the stalls locked, and the faucets worked. No sign of disturbance. Sarah never went near that bathroom again. But every time she used another bathroom alone, she felt the same chill, the same pressure. She would hear whispers from empty stalls,
soft taps on the tiles, shadows moving just out of sight. Years later, she returned to the church for a service. She avoided the bathroom entirely, but during the sermon, she thought she saw the farthest stall door slowly creak open. No one was inside, just the faint sound of dripping water. And sometimes, late at night, when she closed her own bathroom door at home, she could swear she heard the same soft whisper. "Stay. Don't leave."
It was late afternoon at Lincoln Middle School. Most students had gone home and the hallways were quiet. Only the janitor's vacuum echoed faintly down the empty corridors. Emily stayed behind to finish a project in the library. She had been so focused that she didn't notice how long she had been there. Suddenly, she felt the urge to go to the bathroom. She grabbed her backpack and walked down the hall. The old school bathrooms were at the far end of the building, past the gym. The walls were faded, the tiles chipped in several places, and the smell of cleaning chemicals mixed with something old and musty. She pushed open the bathroom door. It creaked, complaining after years of use. Inside, 3 stalls lined the back wall. A row of sinks and mirrors were across from them. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly, flickering every few seconds. The floor was cold and slightly wet. Emily locked the door behind her and headed to the nearest stall. She washed her hands, trying to ignore the chill creeping up her spine. The bathroom smelled faintly of bleach, but there was something else, a smell she couldn't identify, something old and sour. As she finished, she heard a soft drip. At first, she thought it was just the faucet, but then she heard it again, coming from the farthest stall. Slow, steady, like someone was standing there, dripping water from their clothes. Emily froze. Her heart beat faster. She tried to tell herself it was just the pipes or leftover cleaning water, but the sound was too steady, too deliberate. Then she heard a whisper. "Emily, come here." Her eyes widened. She stepped back. "Who's there?" she called softly. The sound of her own voice seemed too loud in the empty bathroom. No answer. Only the soft dripping continued. Emily glanced at the far stall. The door was closed, but she could see it slightly shake, just a little, like something was pressing against it from the inside. She swallowed hard. "Just your imagination," she whispered to herself. She walked toward the sinks, trying to ignore the door. As she looked into the mirror, she saw something strange. For a split second, her reflection moved slightly differently than she did. Her reflection smiled, but she wasn't smiling. Emily stumbled back. Her phone slipped from her pocket, clattering to the floor. She picked it up and tried to call someone, but the screen only showed static. The lights flickered again. The far stall door rattled violently. Emily jumped. Her breath came in short gasps. She pressed herself against the wall, staring at the door. The whisper came again. "Emily, stay with us." Emily's stomach churned. The air in the bathroom grew colder. Her breath came out in visible puffs. She felt an icy hand brush her arm, but when she looked, there was nothing there. The shadows in the corner of the room stretched and twisted. They moved unnaturally, bending around the sinks and mirrors. Emily realized with horror that the reflection in the mirror was no longer her own. It was a dark version of her, eyes black, staring and smiling with a mouth that didn't belong. She tried to run to the door. It was locked. No matter how hard she pulled, it wouldn't budge. Her panic grew. The whispers turned into multiple voices now, overlapping and echoing. "Join us, forever, stay." Emily backed toward the far wall. The stalls rattled again. The farthest stall slowly opened. There was no one inside, but the cold air rushed out, brushing against her face like a living thing. Suddenly, the lights went out completely. Emily screamed. The darkness pressed against her like it was alive. She could hear something moving, sliding along the tiles, whispering in her ear, brushing her hair. She fell to her knees, covering her face. Then a hand touched her shoulder, ice cold, impossibly long. She turned, but there was nothing there, just the far stall door swinging slightly. The dripping had stopped, silence except for the whispers in her head. "Stay, stay with us." Emily crawled to the door, desperate. She pounded on it, her voice cracked. Finally, the janitor's keys jingled outside. The door unlocked. Emily bolted out of the bathroom, stumbling down the hallway. She didn't look back. The janitor turned to her, frowning. "What are you doing here? The school's empty. The bathroom, nothing's wrong in there." Emily didn't answer. She ran home, her heart pounding, her hands shaking. She locked herself in her room and tried to calm down. That night, she dreamed of the bathroom. The far stall door slowly opened on its own. Dark shadows stretched across the tiles. The whispers repeated endlessly. "Emily, stay. Stay with us." After that day, Emily avoided the school bathrooms completely. Even the nearest one at home made her nervous. Sometimes, late at night, she would hear soft dripping, faint whispers, and shadows moving in the corners of her room. She never told anyone what happened. She was afraid no one would believe her. But every time she entered a bathroom alone, she felt that same cold air, that same shadow in the mirror, and heard the soft whisper, "Stay, stay with us." And Emily knew the farthest stall in that school bathroom was waiting, always waiting, for the next person who came too late.
It was a Friday night, and the arena was packed for the big night show. Bright lights flashed on the stage, music boomed through the speakers, and the crowd cheered. Mia had come with a group of friends to see the performance. She loved the show, the lights, the sound, the energy, but she felt the sudden urge to go to the bathroom. She left her friends near the concessions and walked down the crowded hallway to the arena bathrooms. The closer she got, the quieter it became. Eventually, she reached a small corridor behind the main stands. It smelled faintly of cleaning chemicals mixed with something old, like mildew and wet cement. She pushed open the bathroom door. It creaked in protest. Inside, the bathroom was empty. 3 stalls lined the back wall, with sinks and mirrors across from them. The fluorescent lights flickered faintly. The tiles were worn, chipped in some places, and the air was cooler than outside. The echo of the music from the arena felt distant, muffled, almost like she was in a different world. Mia locked the door behind her. She walked toward the nearest stall, trying to ignore the uneasy feeling crawling up her spine. She washed her hands quickly, but the taps seemed to sputter oddly, water dribbling and pausing as if controlled by an invisible hand. Then she heard it, a soft, slow dripping from the farthest stall. At first, she thought it was just a leaky pipe, but the sound was too deliberate, too rhythmic. Drip, drip, drip. She froze. Her heart started to race. She wanted to leave, but when she turned, the door handle wouldn't budge. The lights flickered, and she realized she was completely alone. Or maybe she wasn't. From the farthest stall came a whisper, "Mia, come closer." Her stomach twisted. She stepped back, trying to tell herself it was just her imagination. She inched toward the sinks, glancing at the mirrors. The reflections looked normal at first, but then she saw movement behind her own reflection.
shadows bending strangely, a figure in black, tall, thin, its face obscured. Mia's breath caught. She turned around. Nothing, only the farthest stall door slightly ajar. The whispers came again, louder this time. "Stay, don't leave, forever." Mia's hands shook. The cold in the room seemed to press against her skin. Her hair stood on end. Something moved in the corner of her eye, a shadow that didn't belong. It twisted unnaturally along the tiles. She spun around. Empty. Suddenly, the farthest stall door slammed open violently. Mia stumbled back. A cold wind rushed out, brushing her face like icy fingers. She backed up against the sinks. The shadows in the mirrors stretched, crawling along the walls, moving toward her. Her phone slipped from her hand. When she picked it up, the screen only showed static. The lights flickered rapidly. She screamed, pounding on the door, but it wouldn't open. The whispers became voices, many voices, overlapping, deafening, chanting, "Join us, stay, forever." Mia pressed herself against the wall, trying not to breathe. She realized the reflection in the mirrors was no longer just her. The mirrored Mia moved independently. Its eyes were black pits, and its mouth stretched unnaturally wide. It smiled. Terrified, Mia ran toward the door, tugging at the handle. Suddenly, she felt hands brush against her back, ice cold, long, impossibly thin. She stumbled, fell to her knees. The farthest stall creaked again, slowly opening. The dripping sound stopped. Silence. Then she heard the whisper in her ear, "Don't leave." The lights went out completely. Mia screamed. In the darkness, she could feel the shadows pressing closer, moving along the floor, along the walls, along her legs. She covered her head, rocking back and forth. Suddenly, the lights came back. Everything looked normal, empty, silent, clean. The mirrors reflected only her terrified face. The farthest stall door was closed, no water dripping, no sound at all. Mia scrambled to unlock the door. When she finally ran out, the hallway was empty. No one else was there. The sounds of the show were muffled, distant. She ran toward the main arena entrance, her heart pounding, her hands shaking. When she met her friends, they were laughing, joking about missing parts of the show. Mia's voice caught as she tried to explain, but they didn't understand. She felt silly, like she imagined it all. That night, Mia couldn't sleep. She kept seeing the shadows, hearing the whispers, remembering the cold touch of invisible hands. Weeks later, she returned to the arena for another show. She avoided the bathrooms entirely, even though she had to go. She stayed in her seat, watching the crowd, feeling uneasy. The memory of the bathroom haunted her, the farthest stall waiting, the whispers still echoing in her mind. Even now, when she uses a bathroom alone, at home, at school, anywhere, she sometimes hears the soft dripping. She feels the cold air brush her skin. She sees shadows in the corner of her eyes, and she remembers the words whispered just for her. "Stay, don't leave, forever." The bathroom was small, too small for how much fear it held. It was an old bathroom in a rented house, the kind with cracked white tiles, yellowed grout, and a mirror that never looked fully clean, no matter how much you wiped it. The light above the mirror buzzed softly, like a tired insect that refused to die. The toilet seat had a loose hinge that clicked every time you moved. The shower curtain was thin and stained, hanging limp like wet skin. I had lived in the house for 3 years. The bathroom had been wrong for all of them. At first, it was nothing serious, just small things that made me uncomfortable but easy to ignore. The mirror would fog up even when no hot water was running. The drain would gurgle late at night, long after everyone had gone to sleep. Sometimes the light would turn on by itself, or flicker when no one touched the switch. I told myself it was old wiring, old pipes, old houses made noise. That's what people say. The first time something truly scared me happened at 12:41 a.m. I remember the time because I checked my phone right before it happened. I had woken up needing to use the bathroom. The house was silent. No TV noise, no voices, just the low hum of the refrigerator somewhere far away. I walked down the hallway and opened the bathroom door. The light was already on. I froze. I was sure I had turned it off before going to bed. I stood there for a few seconds, staring into the bathroom. Everything looked normal. Sink, toilet, shower, mirror. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. That's when I heard breathing. It was slow, wet, like someone breathing through their mouth after crying for a long time. I stood still, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. The sound was not coming from the hallway, it was inside the bathroom, behind me. I turned around slowly. The mirror showed my reflection, only my reflection, but the breathing continued. I bent down and looked under the sink. Nothing. I pulled back the shower curtain. Empty tub. I checked behind the door. Nothing there. The breathing stopped. I laughed, nervous and shaky, and told myself I was imagining it. I used the toilet as fast as I could and left the bathroom without looking back. I didn't turn the light off. I slept with my bedroom door locked that night. After that, things got worse. The mirror started doing strange things. Sometimes my reflection moved a second too late. Sometimes it smiled when I wasn't smiling. Once I brushed my teeth and saw my reflection blink while my own eyes were still open. I stopped looking at the mirror. I started keeping the bathroom door closed at all times. I didn't want to see the light turning on by itself anymore. I didn't want to hear the drain whispering at night. Yes, whispering. At first, it sounded like water moving through pipes. Then it started sounding like words, very soft, very quiet, like someone talking underwater. I could never understand what it was saying, until one night I did. It was around 1 a.m. again. I was lying in bed when I heard the bathroom light click on. The buzzing sound filled the hallway. I tried to ignore it. I turned on my phone, hoping the noise would stop. Then I heard my name. Not loud, not clear, just a whisper. My name. I sat up in bed, my throat dry. The whisper came again, longer this time, dragging my name out like it was being pulled through water. I didn't answer. The bathroom door creaked open by itself. I watched from my bed as the door slowly swung wider. The light spilled into the hallway, casting a long shadow across the floor. The whispering grew louder. "Come in," it said. The voice was wrong, too deep, too wet, like something that had been drowning for a long time. I stayed in my bed until morning. The next morning, I checked the bathroom carefully. Everything looked normal. No water on the floor, no signs of damage, no smell. The mirror reflected me properly again. I almost convinced myself it had been a nightmare. Almost. That night, I decided to test something. I locked the bathroom door before going to bed. At 2:03 a.m., the handle started turning. Slowly, carefully, I watched from the hallway as the handle twisted back and forth, like someone on the other side was trying not to make noise. The door shook slightly. Then the knocking began. Soft knocks at first. Tap, tap. Then harder. Bang, bang.
Open, the voice said. I ran back to my bedroom and hid under the blankets like a child. The knocking continued for a long time. When it finally stopped, I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, there were wet footprints on the bathroom floor. They were bare footprints. They led from the shower to the mirror and stopped there. I decided to move out. I packed my things that same week. My landlord didn't ask questions. He just nodded when I told him I was leaving early. As I carried my last box past the bathroom, I heard the drain gurgle again. This time, the voice was clear. "You can't leave," it said. I left anyway. For a while, everything was fine. Then I moved into a new place, a different house, a different bathroom. Clean tiles, new mirror, bright lights. I thought it was over. The first night I took a shower. The water felt colder than usual, but I ignored it. When I reached for my towel, the bathroom light flickered, and the mirror fogged up. Words appeared in the fog, written from the inside. "You brought us with you." I screamed and ran out of the bathroom, slipping on the wet floor. I didn't go back in that night. Over the next few days, the same thing started happening again. The light turning on by itself, the drain whispering, the mirror lagging behind my movements. I realized something terrible. It wasn't the house, it was the bathroom. Any bathroom, every bathroom. Every night it got braver. One night I was brushing my teeth when the mirror spoke. "You see us now," it said. My reflection raised its hand. I did not. My reflection pressed its palm against the glass from the other side. The glass bulged outwards like it was soft, like skin. Cracks spread across the mirror. Hands pushed through, wet, pale, too many fingers. I screamed and stumbled back, slipping and hitting the floor hard. The hands pulled themselves out of the mirror, followed by arms, then a face. It looked like me, but swollen, waterlogged, eyes black and empty. It crawled out onto the bathroom floor, dragging itself toward me. The drain overflowed, black water spilling everywhere. Voices came from the walls now, from the toilet, from the sink, all whispering my name. I kicked at the thing crawling toward me and managed to scramble to my feet. I ran for the door, but it slammed shut. The lock turned by itself. "You stayed too long," the thing said in my voice. The bathroom grew darker. The walls felt closer. The ceiling dripped. The mirror behind it showed dozens of reflections, all smiling. I pounded on the door, screaming for help. My hands slipped on the wet surface. Fingers grabbed my ankles, pulling me down. I was dragged toward the mirror. The glass rippled again, opening like a mouth. I saw inside. Other people were there, trapped, floating, pressing their faces against the glass from the inside, screaming silently. I fought harder than I ever had in my life. I bit, I kicked, I clawed. I don't know how, but I broke free and smashed my elbow into the mirror. It shattered. The bathroom went silent. The lights went out. I woke up on the bathroom floor hours later. The mirror was broken. The water was gone. Everything looked normal again. I left the apartment that day. I don't use bathrooms anymore. Not really. I go during the day with the lights on, door open, music playing. I avoid mirrors. I never shower alone. I never lock the door. Because sometimes, late at night, I still hear it. The sound of water, the soft whisper, waiting. And I know the truth now. Bathrooms are not empty places. They are doors. And once something learns your name, it never forgets.